What's going on, guys? It's Ryan with Riot Tech, and today we have a different mouse pad, the one that I typically use. So if you watched my last video, one of the things that I mentioned was when it comes to mouse pads, I tend to lean towards hybrid pads that have speed and control and somewhere in the middle. And today we're going over the new Kurosun Ninja pad. It literally just released and then instantly sold out, but I gotta tell you, this pad is not what I expected. And before I get into that, as a quick disclaimer, yes, they did send it out to me, but everything that I say is going to be my own thoughts, my own opinions. So with that being said, let's get into it. Okay, so getting into the pad, the one thing that I wanted to talk about first was the stitching, but there are a few things that I just want to mention really quick. Like I mentioned in my last video, I've gotten Aqua Control Plus pads for a while before I started branching out, and I accidentally on my birthday I said, hey, I have two pads that I've created the graphics for. I want to create these. I did not intend to have a black pad with white stitching, so this was unintentional, but Kurosun did this with the Ninja pad on purpose, and gotta say, it looks really good. So sticking to the stitching of the pad, the stitching is really well done and it's very, very tight. You can see it's really consistent going all the way around the pad. But at least for my specific pad, I have a piece right here where it looks like they went over the pad. So I will say that within the pad itself, the stitching doesn't have any issues. I mean, this is just a corner piece, but the stitching, like I said, it's really tight and really well done. And honestly, again, for white stitching around a black pad, it looks really good. So getting into the base, I haven't done the review on it yet. I know it's definitely an older pad, but if you see here, I have the Pulsar ES1 Bruce Lee edition, which I haven't done the review on yet, but I do want to use that as a reference. So specifically for that pad and this pad, they're both using Alpha Cell as the base, and the Pulsar ES1 doesn't have any texture to it whatsoever. It's completely flat. You put it on your desk, you're done, but there's nothing else under the base itself. This pad, with what Kurosun did, they added an additional texture to it, and I think the additional texture, you'll notice, I mean, if you looked at anything on Twitter over the last week or two, everyone that's been reviewing this pad has said, look, we've used other Alpha Cell pads in the past, and because of the Alpha Cell base, we've noticed inconsistencies on the pad, whereas this one, I think because of the texture, there's nothing. I mean, no one has had any negative things to say about the performance of the pad, specifically with relation to the base. Now, getting to the surface of the pad. So I was honestly kind of blown away by using this pad. So I mentioned in my last video that when it comes to getting pads, I tend to lean more towards hybrid. So I don't get control pads completely. I don't get speed pads completely. I usually fall somewhere in the middle, and that's typically where I enjoy pads the most. With this pad being a speed pad, I wasn't really sure how I was going to feel about it, but personally for me, I feel like with this pad, I've been able to get more speed, but have the same control that I'm used to, which is really interesting to me because I feel like usually whenever I move over to speed pads, the more speed you get, the less control you have. And I feel like this pad offers both, where I can still, I'm getting more speed, but I'm still getting the control that I'm used to, which is mind-boggling to me, honestly. So I mean, the surface of the pad, they absolutely killed this pad. I wasn't really sure what to expect whenever it came in, but I've been loving this pad. I mean, for the last week that I've been using this pad, this has been really fun to use. I've been using different mice on it. I've been using different skates on it, and I have nothing negative to say about the surface of this pad. Like I said, I feel like I'm getting more speed and the same control, which is incredible. So with everything about this pad, the only two things that I can say, which are super minor, is this little piece right here for me, that this little piece has extra stitching and the logo isn't etched into the pad itself. So I mean, if you went over it, you'd kind of get stuck on the skates. But if you're playing normally, I mean, it's not something that you should really ever touch. It's just a note. The stitching, still great. The base, this is probably the best alpha cell base pad on the market. The surface, when it comes to speed pad, I don't know how they managed to do this, but this is honestly my favorite speed pad. So, you know, Kurosun, y'all killed it. So with that being said, Kurosun, I have literally no idea how you managed to make this pad. When it comes to the stitching, I have one minor thing, but the stitching of the pad looks great. The base of the pad, when we're talking about alpha cell, this is probably the best. Well, this is the best alpha cell pad on the market. The surface, how I can get more speed and the same feeling of control on this pad has been mind-boggling to me. So Kurosun, thank you so much for sending this pad out to me. If you have any other questions, be sure to like, follow, and throw any comments down below. I'm not really sure what I'm gonna be reviewing next Friday, but the next video will be Friday. So yeah, I will see y'all then. Catch you next time. Peace.